Hi, I'm Mary Matz, creator of Twisted Yarns. In this video, we will build on the basic techniques that you have already learned in How to Machine Knit the Everything Vest, Part 1. Here I will show you how to knit the no-roll border to trim the armholes and the outer edge of the vest. When you take the vest off the machine, it is not only seamed, but the no-roll edging is ready and waiting to finish. As a bonus, we interspersed helpful and practical tips that make the whole process easy to do. It includes when and where to add the border, easy pickup techniques that simplify finishing, 2 variations for finishing the no-roll edging, and how to get perfect results by controlling the tension. The companion pattern is available by following the link in the description below. If you want to border the armholes, the back section is where you start. Pull out your magic number of needles. In this case, it's 52. However, I want to put on this special edging. So I'm going to pull up 6 more on the right-hand side and 6 more on the left-hand side. Cast on with waste yarn and knit a few rows. When you get to the point where you are changing to the main yarn, change your needle configuration as follows. So on the right-hand side, I'm going to leave 3 needles in work and take 3 out of work. I don't need the stitches on them, so I'm just going to drop them off. I'm going to take them out of work, non-working position, position A. On the left-hand side, over here, I'm going to do the same thing. Leave 3 into work on the outside edge and just drop the stitches off of this. I don't care if they run. Now, I'm going to take my main color, thread up my machine, put a little clippy on it, and I'm going to knit my 52 rows, which happens to be my magic number. And I will meet you when I get to 52. Knit the back as directed in part 1, making sure to mark the center 2 stitches before taking it off the machine. Make sure to leave a 12-inch yarn tail at this end too. Knit several rows on waste yarn and remove the back from the machine. You will see that there are longer bars of yarn where the needles were out of work on both armhole edges. Okay, I'm ready to start the collar, the first half of the collar. Now I cast on 26 stitches right of 0, which happens to be the half collar. That's half my magic number. And then I added 6 stitches left of 0 and took 3 out of work. So 3 are out of work and 3 are in work. Now that gives me a nice little border edge. I'm going to start seaming the first half of the back as I go to this edge, which is the upper back position. This is the outer edge. Before I begin this edge, I'm going to take an extra weight and I'm going to put it right on that edge. This is my scrap yarn, but I want that to pull down, and then I'm going to put another weight on this outer edge because I don't want these edges to be tight. I want them to have that little extra ease. Begin hanging the stitches from the back section 1 stitch at a time to the rightmost needle each row. Start with the stitch with the right marker. Work in this manner until row 3 is completed. When 3 rows are knit, begin the neckline dart as usual. The only consideration is whether you include the edge stitches on the left in the calculation. If the yarn is fine, you may choose not to include them and only consider the needles right of 0 when you work the dart. If you do not include the border stitches, make sure to stop 1 stitch before reaching the 3 empty needles before bringing needles back into work. If this yarn is bulky, such as on this sweater, I do include them. Here's how to incorporate the edge stitches into the dart. Okay, so now I have my 4 wraps here. Now I'm going to take these 2 out into hold, and I'm going to take these 2 out into hold. So I only have 1 stitch working yet, and I'm going to knit a row. I am going to wrap this one because I don't want a hole at the collar, and I'm going to knit back. All right, now we're ready to start returning stitches into work. Once the dart is complete, reset the row counter to 3 and continue to finish hanging the back stitches and joining them to the collar. You will stop hanging stitches when you reach the bars on the back that indicate the start of the armhole edging. Do not hang the 3 edge stitches from the back. You are ready to begin shaping the lapel. Start the shaping with the carriage on the left. To increase on this side, we're going to move these 3 stitches over 1 stitch. Okay? And this is the main part of our collar. I am going to lift the bump on this last stitch and put it on the next stitch over. That still leaves me with 3 stitches or 3 needles in non-working position, 3 in working position for my edging, and 1 extra stitch here. This is the edge of the collar. This is just trim. So you do your increases at this point. And at the same time, on the right-hand side of the knitting, we begin to take groups of needles into hold position to short row the lapel. In this example, for the long lapel, we are taking 1 stitch out into hold every other row. The number of stitches in a group moving to hold will vary based on which lapel style you selected. You will repeat the increases on the left until the total number of needles with stitches equal the magic number plus the 6 edge stitches, which are arranged in 3 in work and 3 out of work. Depending on how you decided to shape the lapel, this may be reached before you reach the point of the lapel, such as in this sweater where we are doing the long lapel. But if you are taking groups of needles into hold at a time, you may reach the point of the lapel first. The point of the lapel signals when you begin moving groups of stitches back into work on the right side. Refer to Part 1 for more details. We're going to be increasing up until needle number 32. And the reason I know it's 32 is because it's 26 that I need to go out to make the other half of the width of the magic number, plus 6. Which are the edge stitches. So we're going to continue the same process all the way out. And I'll meet with you then. Just for the record, I have reached my 32nd over here, so I don't do any more increases over here. So I'm going to keep the 6 stitches there, and I have my 26 left of 0 in work right now. Make sure to note the needle configuration when you reach this point. You will need to start your decreases on the other side in reverse at this very same point. Continue to shape the lapel as before. Now I have all of my stitches back in working position. Now I have 26 left of 0. The 3 out of work and 3 more ending on needle number 32. On the right, I have 26, which is half of my magic number. So my full magic number is in. Now, this is where we're going to be working down the side. This is the inside, so this is the side of the armhole. This is still just going to be the outside border. When the lapel is completed, there is one more thing to do before starting the side panel. On the right-hand side of the knitting, we need to add the edge stitches. Just as before, leave 3 needles out of work and bring the next 3 needles to working position. From the back section, pick up the 3 edge stitches closest to the corner and fill the 3 edge needles on the right, being careful not to twist the stitches. If the carriage is on the same side as the edge stitches, make sure to manually knit the stitches that you hung. This prevents a float from forming on the next row. Now, knit the side panel. When the side panel is complete, go back to the edge stitches. If you've knit across these and your carriage is on the same side as the edge stitches, just undo the 3 stitches of the last row so that you don't create another float. Take the 3 stitches off on a stitch holder or a short piece of waste yarn. Move the edge needles out of work. The edge stitches will be later secured when the vest is off the machine. Knit the lower front corner. Then continue to knit the lower back section, making sure to join the back to the lower back section as you go. But remember, do not hang the edge stitches from either side of the back section. Then knit the second lower front corner. Before starting the second side panel, on the right-hand side, arrange the edge needles. Leave 3 needles out of work and move the next 3 needles into work. Fill the 3 edge needles with the 3 edge stitches from the back section closest to that corner. Knit the side panel. Depending on which version of the vest you are knitting, shaping on the outside edge may need to start while knitting the side panel. However, since we are doing the long lapel vest, how to shape the outer edge will be shown in the next section. Jump ahead if your shaping starts sooner. When the side panel is complete, remove the 3 edge stitches and move the needles out of work. The shaping of the second lapel is worked by short rowing from the right edge of the work, just like you did before for the first lapel. However, when to start decreasing stitches on the outside edge begins based on when you stop the increases on the other side of the vest. You must refer to your notes for that information. In my example, the decreases start after the point of the lapel and when the main section needles are 26 in work and 26 in hold. With a 3-1 transfer tool, move the stitch to the right of the empty needles 1 needle to the right. Flip it around and then move the 3 edge stitches 1 needle to the right. This leaves 3 empty needles between the shaping and the edge stitches. Simple and effective. Continue to decrease and short row until the only needles left of 0 are those with the 3 edge stitches and the 3 empty needles. If you calculated properly, the last short row and the last decrease happen at the same time, give or take a row or 2, and the lapel is complete. Follow the instructions in part 1 to complete the second half of the collar. Just remember to skip the edge stitches when joining the back to the collar. As I worked on several Everything vests, I figured out more ways to save time and energy while finishing. Of course, I learned the hard way, as you will see, but I will share these ideas as we go through this section so you can reap the benefits of my experience. Start your finishing by using the Kitchener stitch to join the 2 halves of the collar together, including the 3 edge stitches. Work from the back to the outer edge. When you cross from the main section of the collar to the edge stitches, you must leave enough yarn to mimic the bars created by the empty needles. Once the edge stitches on the outer border are joined, leave a yarn tail about 5 inches long for later use. Remove the waste yarn from the collar. You can also remove the waste yarn from the top and bottom edges of the back section as long as you transfer the open edge stitches along the armholes to holders first. I do like to get all the waste yarn out of the way at this point. Now, find the open edge stitches on each of the armholes. Notice that one set is located at the tip of the shoulder and the other at the underarm. At each armhole, Kitchener the 3 edge stitches from the holder to the 3 stitches from the first row. The joined stitches complete a seamless border around each armhole. While you're there, note how this border is separated from the main sections by the column of bars. Leave a 5-inch yarn tail attached at this junction for later use also. We are ready to finish the no-roll border. This border is technically a latch tool technique, but if you feel comfortable with a crochet hook like me, use one. Before you begin, look at the shape of the bars. See how in one direction they curl up like little smiles, and in the other direction they curl down like little frowns? Turn the work so that the bars are smiling at you, and it will be easy to work the latch tool technique. Since the outer edge of the vest and each of the armholes are circular, you could begin at any point along the edge. However, it's a really smart move to begin near a yarn tail. This is because when you get all the way around, you need a yarn tail to secure the last loop. With the purl side facing and the bars smiling and, unlike me, start next to a yarn tail, insert the latch tool under 2 bars. Twist the bars to form a loop on the hook. Then insert the hook under the next 2 bars and pull them through the loop on the hook. This action draws up the bars. Repeat several times, then stretch the latched section every so often to set the stitches. Repeat all the way around until you get back to your starting point. Use the yarn tail to tack down the final loop and weave in the end. If you start with the armholes, not only do you get to practice the technique in the least obvious places, but you get a feel for the tension too. If the yarn you choose is not very elastic and the border seems to bunch up, even when pulled taut to set the latch stitches, you need to adjust the tension along the edge. You do this by lessening the number of bars picked up at a time. Instead of picking up 2 bars each time, you can loosen the firmness of the edge by alternating 2 bars, then 1 bar, or even working 2 bars, then 1 bar, and then another bar, and so on. I've never had to tighten the tension, but you could do this by increasing the number of loops picked up at one time. On this particular vest, I picked up 2 bars all the way around the armhole to add firmness, but along the entire outer edge, I alternated 2 bars and 1 bar because I wanted the outer edge to be smooth and flowing. The second variation is done in the exact same manner, except it is done with the knit side facing. Here's what it looks like. Whether you work variation 1 or variation 2, the edge 3 stitches roll up and stop right at the latched stitch. By adding the easy no-roll edging to the Everthing Vest, the armholes are professionally finished and the outer border just drapes perfectly. And both the inside and the outside look great. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please take a moment to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications of upcoming videos. Happy machine knitting!